In past videos, I've talked about reinforcement training in a physical sense, and there's also a mental side of this as well, but we're going to cover the physical side. So, the process that I have is what we're going to cover today, and this is the reason I'm covering this, and it might sound like I'm being a broken record with some of my older videos, but the idea is to teach you how to do it yourself. And running through an example for you, but my encouragement, or I'm encouraging you guys to get out there, learn a little bit more about your body, and learn to be a little more detail-oriented. If you actually care about improving on your shooting, if you're happy with how you are, whatever, obviously this video isn't for you, but if you actually care about developing your skills and developing yourself physically in order to do things a little better, then I think this video might be helpful for you. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. First thing you need to do is identify the concept that you're having an issue with. In this video, we're going to talk about grip, because it is one of the more intricate concepts that is actually not only neglected and is not actually done properly by a majority of people out there, but it's also one of the ones that has a lot of different workouts that you can do in order to improve your grip. And actually, it's using a lot of different parts of the body. And we're going to talk about gripping the pistol, but the rifle is very similar, or long gun, whatever. So, next, after you identified it, you need to evaluate this concept that you're using, i.e. the grip, and isolate the actual issues if you can. If you know exactly what you're having an issue with, then good, you're already on your way. But still, you need to analyze it mechanically. That's just really how it's working. So if we're working on a two-handed grip for a pistol, mechanically what's going on is it's an all-around crush grip on the pistol while pulling the trigger without moving the gun. This should be working independently while all these other ones are held under tension. This one's free to move however it wishes and conduct that range of motion. But these others are stuck. They're conducting an isometric hold. So we figured it out mechanically. What's going on? We're conducting an isometric hold, but supplying sufficient tension to try to crush the grip all the way around, right? Well, this one is pulling the trigger without moving the gun. So we're trying to isolate and prevent sympathetic movement. So it's not this finger that needs to be included in the workout, because this one is independent. We just need to work on the rest of these. So the other 9 digits, right? So maybe 9, maybe a little less. Probably not the thumbs necessarily. So anyways, now we need to look at it on an anatomical level, and we're going to have to look at the muscles and how those are actually being used and then replicate that, because it's going to come up later, as you can probably see. So what are we doing when we're actually crushing it all the way around? Well, first off, we're using a grip. And we're using a grip. Now this grip is a little bit different than this grip. So what a lot of people like to do with building grip is they like to conduct range of motion exercises. How is conducting a range of motion exercise actually building your muscles in order to perform an isometric hold? Because you're conducting an isometric hold, you're holding it in space, and you're not even using your trigger finger, but people will have all fingers being used, and then they'll be like, well, I'm strengthening my trigger finger too. If you want to strengthen your trigger finger, get a double action. Work with a range of motion that is very accurate, but something that requires you to conduct an isometric hold as you would. This is not helping. This is teaching you to shoot, something else, or do something else. This is teaching you to fondle, not to shoot. So you need to work in an isometric manner, just as the hold is. You need to mimic the training that you're using, or mimic the training that you're trying to reinforce. So conduct an isometric hold. And with this one, we're not necessarily using grip. However, it doesn't hurt, and we can get away with doing all 4 or 5, whatever. But I would still encourage doing this, because very likely you have to switch hands. So, with that said, that's just me. Do what you wish. The next part of this is we're actually doing a crush grip, which we're using pectoral muscles, and I exercise that with something like this that you use for the leg exercises, for the range of motion exercises, but instead of doing this, which we don't shoot like this, we don't go bang, 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 we actually go out and present and go bang. So this is just working I like to grab like this, and I will sometimes grab like this, not full grip, but just like this, and just meet the hands together and crush them together inwards, like clapping, and just hold it. And then if I wish to do this, isolating the trigger finger and just working on that isolation, then do so. And we're conducting an isometric hold, and you will feel it in your pectoral muscles. Even though this is not that much weight, you're getting a heck of a workout. I can tell you that, because it's a lot different than actually conducting pec flies, where you're conducting a range of motion exercise and working multiple muscles. You're working one set of muscles for this one part throughout the range of motion, and you're demanding a full hold of tension. So that's a yielding isometric, just like having a gripper is a yielding isometric. This will build muscle. This will not just unlock your strength capabilities. You're actually resisting and therefore firing off or twitching muscles. So the next is you're using your shoulders to hold up the gun, right? So why not work on the shoulders directly? You can either pancake it like this, right here, kind of like the lettuce spray thing, and I like to have my thumbs behind it so it's more straight and in line, like you would be holding a gun, or you can hold it a little bit higher, kind of like you have the gun, again, relieving the trigger finger from being involved, and then have this one crushing, using the chest a bit, and holding it up. So you're trying to use two hands, minus the trigger finger and the thumbs, to hold it up. 20-pound weight, and you're using more weight. Which brings us right into training with more. I call this intensified immersion. You're immersing yourself in that specific movement, position, whatever, and you're intensifying it. You train with more weight, time, or distance. Now, obviously, distance is not really... I would apply distance if I was doing like trigger training, because if I was trying to get better at pulling any kind of trigger, I'd work with the longest and heaviest double action that I could, which would be working on this. And of course, I would be spending a lot of time on it, doing that as long as I can, more than what would be in the magazine, right? And so I'd be working with a longer distance and more weight. And that way I'm intensifying the immersion, so when I actually go to, a Glock trigger, a 5.5 pound trigger, I just got done pulling something that was like 13 pounds over and over and over and over again, probably like 30 times, and I wasn't getting tired from it because I trained so hard on it. So how do you think a 5.5 pound trigger is going to feel? It's probably not going to feel. That's really the point. Is it's going to be like nothing. So you're not going to have a problem pulling the trigger without moving the gun. That's the idea behind reinforcement training. Is we identify the problem, and then we evaluate and isolate it, and then you can either break it down into individual workouts, but you're mimicking the training that you're trying to build on. So then you're training with more. You're intensifying it. You're not just doing repetitive movements with the same thing. That's kind of like saying, well, I'm just going to lift 5-pound weights a bunch of times, and I'm just going to rely on quantity to take over for everything else. Well, quality is always going to be better, and quality in the sense of weight, time, and distance are always going to rule the day, because it's going to take less time for you to build those sufficient muscles. Not saying that, this is going to replace actually practicing that actual skill, such as the grip or certain stances or whatever, but there are ways to reinforce your body's understanding of what right feels like, and also make it to where your body is able to easily carry out that skill and develop that skill a lot quicker. So with all that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. Feel free to put them down below, or any comments, whatever. We're an open field for discussion here. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching, and you guys have a good